It's a pleasure to have you all here. I want to thank both those companies and those people who has dedicated their morning to be here today. I'm absolutely aware of how busy you are, and those coming from many places of the world. I know that coming to here it's not very easy, so thank you very much. So how is it going to be the roundtable? Currently, I'm just going to read a brief curriculum from each of the people. Come here, please. That it's going to be today with us. I have prepared some questions, but the idea is not to use them, so that we can begin the discussion, and all of you can ask them whatever you want and need. For difficult questions to them, for easy ones, I can answer them, okay? So, ladies first, if you don't mind, it's Margrethe. You've already heard her on the last talk. She's R&D Program Manager of the Market Area Product Safety and Environment and of the Department of Environment and Toxicology of the Danish Hydraulic Institute Water and Environment. She holds a PhD in Environmental Biotechnology and Microbiology and background in Chemical Engineering from the Technical University of Denmark. She has approximately 20 years of experience in environmental hazard and exposure, assessment of chemical substance, and as a study director and principal investigator at the DHI. She has been involved in a number of research and consultancy projects as a specialist and project coordinator. This includes testing and safety assessment and nanomaterials and development of EU REACH guidance. And she has been responsible for the performance contract at DHI with the Danish Ministry of Higher Education and Science for the market area product safety and environment since 2008. She has more than 50 publications, non-peer and peer-reviewed, and currently she is supervising one doctoral within nano safety. She's part of a rowing club. I had the opportunity to see the pictures, and I have to say that the boat is amazing. And once she boat tipped around, and all of them fell into the water. But hopefully nothing happened and we can have her here. And now it's time for Lorenzo. You've already met him before. Lorenzo has a PhD in pharmacy and is full professor of food science at the University of Vigo here in Spain. He has 25-year experience in research and teaching in the areas of food processing, biotechnology, and bio-nanotechnology. He's currently the head of the Department of Life Science at the International Iberian Nanotechnology Laboratory, you've already told us, composed nowadays by 30 researchers. He's author of more than 120 scientific papers and a PI of more than 30 national and European research projects and contracts, arising funds around 2,500 euros in the last 10 years. Professor Pastrana is author, it's quite interesting, of 7 patents. 4 of them are already licensed, relating the development of new food products and processes as well. He was the first director of the Research and Knowledge Transfer Center of the University of Vigo and also the head of the Knowledge Transfer Office of the University of Vigo and the founder of Galician Agri-Food Technology Platform, involving more than 140 food companies and RTDs to foster R&D projects. As you see, I have asked them to tell me an anecdote or something that could be more personal. And he told me as an anecdote, you can add that in addition to working on food, what I like most about them is to eat them. So all of us are related with food and with the food industry, but we are also consumers, okay? That's important. We also have Antonio. Thank you very much, Antonio. I know it took time to come from Valencia. He is a degree in chemistry from the University of Valencia and PhD from the University of Cambridge. Take care of your accent. We are here. We speak Euro-English, not British English. Antonio has more than 20 years of experience in the nanotechnology sector, from its uses in energy storage and by obtaining porous nanocomposites used as electrodes in lithium and sodium batteries to the preparation of compounds that modify the surface properties, hydrophobicity of containers, work surface, etc. Since 2018, Antonio has been product manager of Cleanity, a company dedicated to providing cleaning and disinfection solutions to the food industry. His real passion is being a marathon man. However, he's realistic and he's better as nanotechnologist than as runner. And here you have Juan. He's telecommunication engineering by the Public University of Navarra. He has several experiences as manager in different industries. Currently is CEO of Nadetech. Nadetech Innovation is a company providing instruments and technical support for the deposition of coatings, films, colloids, and other micro-nanostructured materials. More important, Nadetech team is focused on improving people's life. How a company developing thin film deposition machinery improves people's lives. Firstly, taking care of their people, having a compromised and motivated team that offers excellent support, innovation and cooperation to the customers in diverse files, from nanotechnology and advanced materials to wet deposition and many others. Making easier things to their customers, help them to offer the world application or water purification sensors or heart attack prevention device, among others. Companies are people at the end, huh? It's important. And he told me, regarding my hobbies, you can choose between basket, mountain, theater, reading, piano, and do it yourself at home. If I have to choose one of them, Juanan, it would be great to have someone with do-it-yourself notions at my home. So if I'm able to choose, I prefer that one. So is there any question on the floor you want to make them? Am I going to have to read them? Really? Can't believe it. No? Okay, Elizabeth, please. I remember it's Juan, Lorenzo, Margrethe, and Antonio.
Thank you for the excellent presentation. Director Lorenzo, my question is about the microcapsule for the salt. If two questions. One is the cost of this, and if is industrial available to hire, if I can buy this. The other is if, as we know, bakers, the salt is very important for the. Yeah, of course. Elisa, I know it. My name is Elizabeth. I'm from Portugal. I have a bakery in Bragança. It's in northeast of Portugal, and we not only made bread, but also we try to make science with the bread. So it's very interesting because we made bread with sourdough, and we study a little bit about this. But return to my question is about the the salt and the influence we have in the bread. Is the caramelization of the bread is though about the salt. A good thing we have in Portugal, we are low compared with other countries. We are low in salt, so we have good bread with low salt. And we received last in this month for the minister, the healthy minister, the kind of congratulation because we have low with compared with other bakeries. Two things. And if it's available to have this kind of nano parts of salt.
price is much more higher than the regular milling process for salt. For regular salt, comparing with the Himalaya salts and this kind of new salt products is really cheaper than that. So the technology is not expensive, but is more expensive than the regular milling process because it's already in place. So this is normal. But this is only this solution is only for not soluble salt. So it's not suitable, for example, for bread or for salt recipe or whatever where the salt is dissolved. So it's just for eating direct salt from snacks or from chips or whatever. So this is our aim. We have other solutions for reducing sugar and salt when these products are dissolved in the product. Because this is not a trendy, it's a mandatory issue in the European Union. We have to reduce by way to taxes of sugar in the case of beverage, or by the way of reduction by law, the consumption of salt and sugars in products. So it's a need, it's an industrial need.
Absolutely. Antonio, can I ask you? Sure. Okay. So you're working in the disinfection of for the food industry. So I think that question could do good for you. On a daily basis, we come into contact with products that are built upon nanotechnology, such as bandage, toothpaste, sunscreen, etc. Why do you think that despite its everyday nature, it is still a taboo subject? Do you use currently nanotechnology on your...
Yeah, we currently have two uses for nanotechnology. One of them is encapsulation, because, for example, we put natural extracts to fight against bacteria, and we need those extracts to be liberated only when they are needed, because if you put something in the formula and by the time it arrives to the customer it's not there, it has no use. And then we also work with a research center to try to apply nanotechnology to surfaces to make them more hydrophobic, to make sure that they dry faster, to make sure that they're easy to clean. And if they're easy to clean, you're also going to have bacteria attaching less to those surfaces, and that's going to help with the disinfection process.
And currently, do you have already solutions on the market that are based in nanotechnology?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do.
So it's not a legal problem for disinfection of surfaces?
Well, the thing is, you always have to play with legislation. So, as you know, if you go above a certain measure of particle, then it's not considered nano. Mm-hmm. Even when you are getting the same results, you will be getting with a smaller particle. So currently what we are lacking is a clear regulation. For example, the European Union is doing a fantastic job with biocide products. With the CLP, there's a lot of regulation. Well, I mean, it's the truth. But then, for example, with nano, depending on the market, you have a different regulation, or you have no regulation, and you just have to convince your customer that there's going to be no safety issues, that is going to be no problems with the food contamination, there's not going to be transfer to the food, what you're using is grass. Normally, if you can assure the customer that what you're using is grass, there tends to be less problems, but still you have to fight against that.
We are in Europe.
Yeah.
Any other question for them? Okay.
Okay, good morning, everyone. And first of all, I would like to thank all of you for your brilliant presentation. I think they are very interested for food industry, food sector. My name is Irene. I come from a cluster, Aragon Food Cluster. And I have several companies that are very interested in producing products without additives. So my question goes to Lorenzo, because it was surprising for me to obtain colored foods. So two questions about that. First, many companies are interested in clean labels, so that particles could be considered additives to include in a clean label. And the second question, as you know, most of the food products requires treatments of different kind, treatment, cooling, high pressure. Are these particle resistant to all these type of processes? Thank you.
Okay, so I showed different technologies. All of them are compatible with the usual thermal, mechanical process in the food industry. So we develop particles or nanoparticles or ingredients that can be used in a regular processing in the food industry. So this is the first point. The second point, additives. Yes, so customers are demanding no additives, are demanding more clean or natural products, and this is not compatible with the reality. So because the 70% of the population in the next years will be urban population, so very far away from the food producers. So that means that we need to make something to provide safe foods for the urban citizens. So that means that we have to looking for this another solution. For example, structural color. Structural color is just a physical problem. So it's to create this pattern, these holes in the surface that reflect only one wavelength. So it's very simple. So my point here today is to demonstrate that nanotechnology, so the main risk of nanotechnology, is not a toxicology problem. It's not a toxicology issue. So the main risk is the fear of unknown for the customers, the fear of unknown. And we have to provide trust to the customers by using information, and to demonstrate that nanotechnology and nanofoods are around of us every day, so are safe, are good, and we have solutions even for make them safer than the regular foods. So, for example, by using a structural color. So this is the idea, because the main risk is to convert nanofoods or the using of nanotechnology in foods to convert that in the problem that we had with modified or genetic modifying organisms. So that is are banned here in Europe, and it's really it's a pity. So to have this perception. So we have to fight against the bad perception of the technology that or the nanotechnology.
It's a problem. It is. That's our challenge, no? The nanotechnology is a chance. How to explain how it works for the consumer is a challenge, isn't it?
We have to make a bigger communication.
Yeah. It's like that.
Hello, I'm Brian McKenna. I agree basically with what all of you been saying, is that there's a huge future for nanotechnology in food packaging. However, I think that while there's been great developments in new uses of it and new materials, and Margrethe's type of work in looking at the safety aspects of it, the whole area of regulation has actually been very much ignored. Esther certainly said that yes, that they're going to put in dossiers to EFSA related to both the nanotubes that they're working with in NanoPack, and also with the essential oils that are using in it. But it's going to happen, but it hasn't happened. And I think until people start taking the regulation seriously, we do live in Europe. We're stuck with whatever we have, with all the faults of the system. And there's been many good developments in the area of food technology that don't exist in Europe, but were developed in Europe, and they're used elsewhere simply because we haven't actually overcome the regulatory hurdle, and I think we really have to do that very, very soon.
And how can we manage that?
We have to put some effort into it. It's not, I don't think it's a management thing. The information is coming out from the scientific work, but we have to take that extra step. And I totally agree with what Esther is doing, that doing it in parallel with the actual development research work is the way to do it. But we do run the risk of losing it as a good technology, and we've lost many others, and I'd hate to see this one go. And in fact, it will also help the consumer to get over the consumer hurdle. If you get over the regulatory hurdle, that's halfway towards getting over the consumer hurdle.
Do any of you want to?
Just an opinion. I can speak like a consumer more than a researcher, because what we do is working with researchers, but we don't really know about the materials. We just provide the tools to work with those materials and code different things or help in the research. So in this regard, I think it's a matter of communication. The research world should make an effort and communicate more to the customers that, of course, nanotechnology is a huge field, and you can speak about nanotechnology in many different materials, many different applications, but we, as a research community, if I can say that I belong to it, should communicate that there are many things that you are developing safely, and they have no effects to the customers. And once again, if there are things that may be potentially risky, you are here to research about that and to find what the best application is. And
Is it a problem, or because we don't communicate, or we don't know how to communicate? Is it a problem or I think it's more a problem of the language we use?
Okay, I would like to comment also on the safety and the regulation. I think we need, it's not only about regulation, it's about safety. So people are worried because they also know about the past, and now here you can read in the newspaper, now you have bisphenol A in the water, or in the, the what you are drinking water when you're in your glass, from your plastic glass, and you have a lot of other endocrine disruptors around. So they become worried, and in some part of Europe, as in Denmark, it's difficult to have children. 20% have difficulties to have children. So of course they are worried. So we need to take it serious from the very beginning about the question about safety. And of course it's about doing the research as we're doing in a NanoPack. From the very beginning, have a dedicated work in one line on the toxicology and ecotoxicology, and the other line the technical development and innovation. So this is made in parallel, and it will also help you to, from the very beginning. I forgot to say that you could waste a lot of money if you are not considering the safety from the very beginning, because maybe your product turned up that you couldn't have it approved or the authorization if you choose the wrong nanoparticles or the wrong functionalization. So I think it's very important. It's people make the consumer, they should trust the work we are doing in the research and development. So yeah, that's it.
I completely agree, but I also think that we cannot stop all the developments trying to have all the data, because we have to assume that we have a risk to take and decide what is the risk that we are going to accept, and then move forward. Because if not, we're going to stop a lot of developments just waiting to have all the data, and by the time we have all the data, maybe some others make use of that technology and we are behind.
Perhaps in the United States.
Yeah, perhaps.
have one comment?
Yeah, sure.
It's not about having all the data. It's because it's actually, I think it's worth, and it will save your money. Now I'm talking about industrial development and so on. But of course, in the research where you are dealing with small amount and you want to receive new knowledge, of course you should continue taking care of your your worker and so on, and your students. So I think you don't need all the data. You have now a lot of data, so it's also being smart. We need more, but if you in somewhere in REACH regulation you have collected not from nanomaterials but for chemical substances a growing number of data which you have free access to in the database at the ECHA, the chemical agency. And of course, not all of them is so good, but it's a start. So you can, if you have, you can share the data and have more transparency. I think.
I want to make a question to. Okay, then I will make a question to.
I would like to relate to the discussion here, and as you mentioned, we can always play with nanotechnology, and as you mentioned, play. For example, in NanoPack, we could play with the combination of the particles and have, and in order to not describe them as nanoparticles based on the size distribution. But I think this is somewhat like bypassing the problem, because I think that we as researchers are, especially those in the academia, we can take risks because this is our career. But I think that imposing these risks on the population is not responsible. And having working with a team of toxicologists over the past 2.5 years, I have to tell you that at least my perception to the research that we are doing in our lab has changed. I think that we are more aware of the things that we are doing. We take toxicology more into considerations in the project that we are taking. But I think that also raising an issue to the toxicology people and the regulation people. I think that this data is not communicated properly, even to researchers, not to say to the to consumers and to the public. I think when I give my student even sometimes to read about a material, he says like, after 2 pages he's exhausted and he doesn't want to continue reading this. I think that there should be a way to make the data more available, for example, more reachable, and I think that this can definitely help integrating safety more properly into projects in nanotechnology.
As I said, the language we speak is completely different. So I want to appeal to the industry right now. I know there are several companies here. I would like to know what do you perceive from the consumer against nanotechnology, and why are, of course, because of legal aspects, but just focusing on consumer, why are you not applying nanotechnology? If you had already the legal approval, what are you perceiving from them? And why do you think nanotechnology could help you, and why are you not going to apply it on a future if there's something that it's not that will stop you? And I know some of you, if you don't want to talk, I will not say, who's coming from the industry. Thank you, Peter.
Hi, Peter Mooney from Don Meats Group. I don't think we have any issue with technology and using it. We respect the legislation. and if something is legal, we can use it. I think there's an obsession sometimes amongst academia about explaining things. And I would take the attitude that even a lot of our business is own label. So I'm dealing with supermarkets whose name is on the product, not mine. So I'm not even in a position to tell them to explain something. And they don't want to explain it. It's either legal or it's not. The packaging is effective or it isn't. And it does the job. So we would have no issue using technology. We have had in the past, and we will continue to do so. There is a concern that even when you do have EFSA approval for something, you get nutcases on the internet who just say that's wrong, and you get a campaign on Facebook. That's the issue that we may face. From our own point of view, we trust EFSA. Some people would say that they're too much this way in terms of what they allow. But for me, that means that if something is approved, it's approved. But I have read things in newspapers by people who are so-called nutritionists talking about ingredients. And the problem I find with academia is whatever mad idea you have in your head, it's very easy to search for it on the internet. And there's some very bad research out there. And you will find some stories and some research that back your mad idea up. And then you can put what looks like a technical article together. Or some people don't even bother to just take a photograph of themselves and put it up on Facebook and say, you can be like me, or I don't eat this because it's toxic. You hear people saying stupid things like sugar is toxic, you know, on the television, and nobody ever picks them up on it. So to a certain extent, explaining doesn't even work because other people just have their own explanation now with the advent of the internet. That's the difficulty that we face. So we trust in science, we're happy to use it. We trust in the legislators, we're happy if they say it's okay that we can use it. We're not inclined to explain it because we take the attitude that if you're explaining, you're losing. It's either legal or it's not. And the potential issue we face is consumers who just take an attitude towards something and an ignorant view, and they're not going to read your technical papers, or they're not going to read EFSA guidelines, they're just going to take their own attitude towards it. And that's the main problem potentially that we face in terms of using technology.
I understand your point. So, but look, so sometimes it's not a problem of legal accomplishment of whatever. So, for example, talking about campaign. Right now, there is a campaign against Nestlé for using plastics, petrol-based plastics. So, it's no, well, no. So, no, but this is a real campaign. So sometimes it's not a problem. So the problem, so it's a problem of perception, because there are a lot of fake news. There are a lot of people that are consumers, and the industry are really concerned about not only the legal part, but the perception of the consumers regarding his brand. For example, Nestlé, we have projects with Nestlé, and talking with them, so they are really concerned to use the word nano linked to the brand Nestlé. So they want to avoid this liaison. So, and this is just for perception. It's not a legal problem. It's not. It's nothing related with facts, scientific demonstrations, or whatever. So it's more the perception. And from the scientific point of view, I think that we have to provide as well not only scientific facts, which is the basis, is the most important from my point of view, but as well not only facts, but as well trust to take this sensitivity to the customers, because it's as well our role, no, to provide this this trust, no.
You know, what I agree is it's really difficult to fight with those misconceptions, because, for example, we sell disinfectants, and you get people telling, no, I don't want this one because I've read somewhere that it's bad, and well, you're killing bacteria. But it has to kill. It's flat, so. Yeah, but you have to do a real effort of communication to make sure that the data that is available reaches at least the people taking the decisions. We cannot go to each individual customer, but at least make sure that those making the decisions have the right data to take the right decision.
Also, I want to add, from the point of view of the customer, is that me, Macarena's customer, nothing to do with the big data. I want the animals to be happy. I don't want to eat any type of additives. I don't want chemicals. I don't want yeast. But I don't want to pay more. I want it all. All the pack, please. So let's think that we've already demonstrated that nanotechnology is safety. Let's see that we've already demonstrated that it could help with many things. But do I want to pay more for it? I'm not sure about that. Serena, please. Don't stand up.
Hello, Serena from Arla Foods, a large dairy company in Northern Europe, for those that don't know. And I totally agree with Peter and the rest of the comments already discussed. I think the consumer is actually the most difficult part sometimes of introducing new technology, even if the legal part is approved. And we always need to follow what the consumer perceptions are, even in cases where there is no issue legally or health-wise. If there is an issue consumer-wise, we need to be very cautious around introducing new things. And I think this is tricky with nanotechnology because it's kind of going against the natural sense of minimal processing, no additives, clean label. It is clean label, but then the processing side is an issue because doing any extra processing on something that doesn't need it is a negative in the consumer's minds. So I think from my point of view, we really need to find where we can make a consumer benefit that they otherwise cannot get without using this technology. So perhaps it's not food waste, but maybe something more into medical nutrition, probiotics, personalized nutrition, where otherwise without this technology, we cannot get this benefit to consumers, but they really need to feel the benefit for themselves in order to be able to trust and accept new technology a lot of the time. So really, I think the first mover will be the one that can find this application without nanotechnology that wouldn't be possible for the consumer.
Something like, I don't mind to assume the risk cost the benefits I obtain.
Exactly. And I think also with medical nutrition, there is a higher acceptance of new technology for the health purpose compared to everyday consumer goods where there is more resistance and they want more traditional processes and natural processes. So I might even predict that, Lorenzo, something around what you were presenting for personalized nutrition or also earlier delivery systems for the gut that might be a first mover that then allows people to start talking about it and accepting the benefits compared to the processing part.
Yes, my name is Luis Martinez. I am from Tecnan. Tecnan is a company who is working in the field of nanotechnology. Concretely, we produce nanoparticles and nanoproducts. So I'm going to give you our opinion about how are our products in the market. Really, at this moment, we are working more with the construction sector and automotive sector. We have some products in the market based on nanoparticles, and they always say two things: functionality and cost. This is the main point. At this point, if we demonstrate that the product is okay and the price is okay, with these two sectors, of course, with all the safety data sheets and all the legality certification and all the things, we are making business with this two sectors. At this moment, we are starting to offer new products to food industry, mainly based in nanoparticles, but with the incorporating different kind of organic matrix and incorporates like coatings. And first, to go to new sector, we try to understand the needs, we try to understand the limitation, and of course, we obtain the certification to introduce our coatings like able to be in contact with foods. We are at this level at the moment. I agree with Lorenzo. In some context, you mentioned before about the question of Nestlé, for example. In our company, we don't use the label nano. We say we produce nanotechnology. Our competitive difference is working with nanotechnology, but with the idea to offer a new technology, not with the idea to say nano is better than other technologies. You know what I mean? This, and in the market, of course, people, we work a lot with architects, we work a lot with technical people, and of course you should demonstrate the functionality, and of course you should demonstrate that our products are not bad for the, not for the consumer, but for the people who is going to apply our products. This is our point. And I only give my opinion about that.
So you work with the business to business instead of business to consumer, no? That's it. It's like more or less the change you've tried to do on your company in Nadetech.
Yeah, as I told before, I am thinking as consumer, I agree we should go with these safety considerations. Me as consumer, if I'm not sure about something, I wouldn't buy it. But I believe that the research community is here to prove that and to tell us as customer, to tell the customers that this is, you can consume this. There are some risks, but I assume when I buy something that the research community knows that it's an acceptable risk. So this is my point of view as customer. Regarding your question about price, I think it's, again, something we should communicate and we should get used to, because yeah, maybe it's a little bit more expensive, but we are many people in the world, and if we want to keep our standard of living, we need to look for new things. So if we don't research and do investigation about new options, there is no future.
Did it offers me advantages?
This is what we have to look in the industry. I agree with her. I don't remember your name, sorry, Selena. We need to look for something. When I'm going to buy something, unconsciously I think how this product is going to improve my life. So this is the point. So we need to catch that message, and we have to be able to transmit that to the customer. This is good for you because this reason.
Please introduce yourself. Thank you.
So thank you for all the presentations and everything. My name is Jaime Carrasco. I'm coming from a small research center that is located in La Rioja Baja, not that far away from here. And our research center is focusing on the mushroom research and services. Basically, we provide services for the mushroom industry. Here in La Rioja and in this area of Aragon and also in Navarra, we are the most productive area of mushrooms here in Spain. But in our research center, we are facing a problem that basically when we are trying just to change the mind of consumers and introducing some other edible stuff in their diets, mushrooms is a good solution instead of eating like high-value meat content diets that in here in Europe. But sometimes consumers have fear for new products. Obviously, we are producing over there in our research center something like 36 varieties commercially right now over there. And I came here with the opinion that this technology was really, really expensive, nothing to do with our maybe small industry. But I realized that probably food enhancers, it's an opportunity as well for our businesses. So I would like to know your opinion about, or whether or not you have experience producing, for example, food enhancers in order just to reduce, for example, the salt content or sugar content, because, for example, edible fungi are rich in the glutamate and other kind of food enhancer particles that you can find over there. And this is one on the one hand, and on the other hand, we are also providing service for the industry, and the industry has a big problem with managing all the wastes basically, yeah, they have this kind of challenge. Yeah, we are both challenging how to face wastes. And so we have obviously fungal waste, which is rich in chitosan. So the point is that do you have an experience working with fungal chitosan instead of ketones from the seafood origin? And for sure, we are open to collaborate. If not, so this is the opportunity for that. So thank you so much.
I think the first one is for Lorenzo. Then I have a question for you, Margrethe.
Yeah, just to point out that we wrote a proposal for a Irish company for prevent the brownish of sliced mushrooms. So there are solutions for the mushrooms industry that we developed in the past. So probably we have to discuss deeply in the future.
It's related to what he said. From the environmental point of view, what type of solutions can the nanotechnology give? Because you are related with the safety and with the toxicology, but also from the environmental issues, no? What are you
But the environmental issue is about the environmental effect, or it's parallel to we have the toxicology and the ecotoxicology. So this is the environmental issue is related to that. So this is not what. No, this is something. Yeah.
Is there any other question? Good one. Okay.
You mentioned cost, which is a crucial one, because the fact of it is that if you're working with technology, it typically costs more than whatever the current solution is. It typically has a higher environmental load. If you just take NanoPack, it's more complicated structurally, and the ingredients in the packaging, the amount of research that has to be done to bring it to market is large. If you do an LCA on it, it's bound to be more environmentally costly if you add the numbers up than standard packaging. So there needs to be an understanding, as far as the EU are concerned, that just because it's technological, if I deal with retailers, they just want things on a cost-neutral basis. They say, yes, I'll buy it, but I'm not paying you any more for it. But that's because they can. So legislators need to put technology in a position, if it's good and it's more expensive, that they can say, now you have a choice. Yes, you can use the old stuff, but I'm taxing you on that. So you have to have a level playing field, because there has been some quite good technology in packaging come out over the last 10 or 20 years, but it's all been buried because it's too expensive, and we would have tested some of it in our factories and then gone to retail customers who would have said, no, it's too expensive. So in order for the technology to break through, there needs to be an understanding around legislation to make sure that the work is done properly, but it's not out of court in terms of costs. And there needs to be some way of leveling the playing pitch so that retailers don't say no from now on, even if it does make sense. Plus an understanding that just because something has a worse LCA than its predecessor, in our case, meat is very expensive, so the payload in the packaging is expensive. So the benefit you get from longer shelf life is a lot, whereas if you use something like mushrooms, which are relatively cheap, it may be harder to make that price proposition for using expensive packaging with it. But there needs to be some kind of a level playing field in terms of the legislators, and I think they will get around to that over the next few years, because they understand that there is some technology out there, but cost is one of the major issues.
Scalability. So if you can provide scalable technologies, the cost will be reduced in the future. So, and I think that today practically all the technologies that we presented are scalable. So I think that in the case.
We have currently 3
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's not just something that it's on the research area. No, it's on the industry, and there's people who's sending that. Any other question, or I guess most of the non-Spanish people are hungry. So it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much to you all, and you're invited to have a lunch. Thank you very much.